All right, Derek, World Cup is here. This is the first time you've been on the channel since the World Cup has started. We had our first game against Paraguay where we won 4-1. We'll briefly talk about that. Our next match is against Australia, the second game of the group.
Yeah.
The team looked very good. Surprised a lot of people against Turkey in their opening group stage. Before we get into that, though, I just want to ask you, how are you enjoying the World Cup so far, my friend?
It's been glorious. Quite good. Listen, when you really can't complain about much, and that was maybe the best I've ever seen us play outside of maybe 2002, our game against Portugal. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to complain about. I'm excited. I think fans across the country are getting a little excited. Like all on my local radio sports channel today on the way to work, they're talking about U.S. soccer. And I got in my car to come home from summer school, teaching summer school. They're talking about soccer, U.S. men's national team. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Hey, real quick, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're growing like crazy. The World Cup is among us, and we have a lot of content you guys are not going to want to miss. So also make sure you guys hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Yeah, and I would say, let's talk about the Paraguay game, right? Because I would say at this point, we have looked the best of any team against a respectable opponent.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you could say Germany, but let's be honest. I mean, they played a country with like 150,000 people in it. I mean, that's not really a fair comparison. But, Paraguay is a team that plays in a very competitive confederation. They came in sixth place. They were tied they're like the third through sixth place all had 28 points. So they were very competitive. They're a very good team. And we absolutely smoked them. And I don't think anyone, including you or I, expected that type of routing. And I think it has, to your point, made a lot of people interested and a lot of people believe the United States are for real.
Yes. The funny thing about watching that game was, I kept saying, why are they playing a mid-block? Why are they doing that? Like Paraguay needed to, this is the fascinating thing about the game, either play aggressively, play a high press, or play a low block. You don't spread out. And then they also played so narrow, they just gave us the wings all game long. It was unbelievable. They looked completely confused about our movement and our switching. And yet they just kept playing a low block. They only came out in a high press after they scored one goal. And that was brief. And they just played a stupid, very narrow mid-block, gave us the wings, and we could go inside out constantly the whole game. I don't know what they were thinking, but I don't know if they played like that the whole qualifying, for CONMEBOL, because I can't see how this particular setup, this Paraguay could have beat Argentina and beat Brazil as they did and only given up 6 goals. So something was very wrong with their setup to begin with. And I'm not sure they really figured out through that friendly we played with them, although totally different starting 11 for us, how to play against us. So they just kind of didn't go all out. They didn't go super conservative. They just stayed somewhere in the middle, and that got their ass kicked. I mean, they got to commit to one thing or the other, and I can guarantee you Australia will be committing to one or the other. It will not be a mid-block. So
let's talk about Australia real quick, too, and then we'll get into our matchup, which I'm actually a little nervous about now. And I'm not nervous because I feel like we're not capable. We'll get into it, but just after what we saw, Australia beat Turkey 2-0, right? And I'm still getting used to calling them Turkey because I've always called them Turkey, but I got to be, correct here, politically correct.
I refuse.
Yeah. I'm not trying to offend any birds here, okay?
Right.
But Turkey was a favorite to win the group. A lot of people thought they might be able to get the one team in our group that might be able to get 9 points. Australia goes in there and punches them in the mouth, beats them 2-0, looks very convincing. Turkey looks very flat, frustrated, had chances, weren't able to, really do much. And I was very impressed. Here's another thing, too. We'll talk about this guy in a little bit. Patrick Beach, the young goalkeeper for Australia, so Matt Ryan was their veteran goalkeeper, 34 years old. He would essentially be our Tim Howard of their era.
Yes, he plays in the Spanish. Yeah, I mean
Levante, right? I think
Levante. Like, how is he not starting? You were wondering at the beginning of the game.
Exactly. And this kid plays for Melbourne, I'm pretty sure, City in the Australian League, the A League.
He does.
And he came out there, his 4th appearance of all for the national team ever. First is the World Cup, and he balled his ass off.
Yes, he did. And what Australia did was not shocking. They had way less possession. Obviously, it was like 70-30. They had less corners. They did foul more. I think they had 12 fouls to 4. So we expected that. They were going to foul. They're aggressive. They're physical. Everything we thought was going to happen happened, except for, as you said, Turkey looked frustrated. They couldn't beat the low block when Australia tucked in and said, no, we're going to put 10 guys in front of the ball. Good luck. And they couldn't score. They couldn't find. I mean, we just watched the game here a minute ago. Same thing. Spain could not figure out how to break down Cape Verde's low block. And they're guaranteed to do the same thing against us. Hit us on a counter, or hope to get a goal on a set piece. That's what they're going to do. And I have more faith in us breaking down that low block than I have faith in Turkey breaking down that low block. Also, by the way, doesn't help that Turkey talk crap in the media about Australia before the game, saying, well, we got better players. We've got a better plan. We're going to beat them. We're going to crush them, I think is translated. We're going to cream them. Right? Well, the Australian players came out after the game and said, we heard that and we used it in the locker room to pump ourselves up, and we did our talking on the field. And they did, because they took their chances, man. They didn't waste them. And Turkey looked really frustrated and looked like they got smacked in the face or punched in the mouth and just didn't know what to do after that. So except kick the ball around needlessly and have a lot of possession, but not do anything with it. So
you know what Australia really did too is they exposed Turkey for being soft. Like they just came away that game looking very soft physically and mentally to me.
Yeah.
Like, to your point, they weren't able to come back from any adversity. They looked just very Australia was manhandling them. Like they were just knocking them around. And I told you this like earlier on the phone that it kind of gave like some vibes of our classic teams of like, we might not be as talented, but we're going to make you earn it. And we're going to make it a tough 90 minutes on you. And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And I don't expect that Australia will be able to push us around. I don't think we're going to take it. Plus, we have some large mammals on our team. People don't know this, but Willie Tillman's he's a 6'1" guy. He's a big guy. And, McKennie's certainly not going to take any crap. And as small as Adams is, he's a bulldog. He's not going to get pushed around. I'm sure they're going to be really physical with Pulisic. There's no doubt about it. They're going to make a point of it. Hopefully he's okay. I think he is. Word is on the street, he'll be ready to go. They're going to try to be physical with us, but I think we're ready for that. Based on what we just saw, I mean, we were against Paraguay, not only the better team, the better coach team, the more concise team, but we were also physically better. We were faster, stronger, like on every platform you could measure, we were better than Paraguay. But it's not going to be as easy because Australia's not going to. They're not idiots. They're not. They might press and then fall back into a deep, a low block, but that pressing is going to be measured. They're not going to do it all the time. Only when they see something they can exploit, and then they're going to tuck back and they're going to let us have the ball and probably kick it around midfield all we want. But once it gets into the final third, they're going to be locked down. So we got to break that now, and that's going to be the challenge.
When I was thinking about after we beat Paraguay, I was thinking our group would probably be more, I don't want to call it a cakewalk, but it was going to be more favorable to us. And then when I saw Turkey lose, I was like, okay, well, they're fraud. I think they're frauds, actually. I think they're just outright frauds. But Australia is that team that could get a result from us. Now, when I was watching that game, the two people outside the goalkeeper that stood out to me was Irankunda. who is a little speed demon up top.
Yeah.
He was giving them fits.
Isn't he another Melbourne? No, he's a Norwich kid, I believe.
Norwich,
right?
yeah. Norwich, yeah. And then they have another guy named Torre. Now, I think it might be either he plays for Norwich or Torre does, and the other one plays for Watford, if I'm not mistaken. But they both play in the championship.
They're both yellow, yeah.
Yeah,
they both wear yellow.
But yes. So they both, one plays for Watford, and I think one plays for Norwich. Yeah. But it was funny. Irankunda, I think, was the best player in the attack for them. Clearly, Toure actually kind of reminded me of one of our players quite a bit. Was Patrick Ajimong, just because in the final third he looked a little awkward on the ball and like he really didn't know what to do next. Like his brain was in the moment and couldn't think 2 steps ahead, and it kind of slowed play down. But you saw the physical traits and you saw the speed and everything, and he looks like he could be a problem like for us. But that's the 2 things that I noticed in the game. Was there anything that you noticed as far as like maybe some concerns from specific players from Australia?
I think again, on paper, we are way more talented than this team. They've got some, but I would have said a month ago, they've got more grit than we do. And I think we talked pregame, like chip. They got a chip on their shoulder still. Australia is not a highly regarded soccer country. And they play like they do too. And we're not going to give them any locker room fodder. Let's be honest. We're not stupid that way. I don't know why that was Guler who did that. They were talking about it in the tunnel with the Australian player sitting right there. I mean, that's a pretty stupid thing to do. But they're going to bring that grit. I'm not particularly worried about anything except for who's going to break down the low block. Is Ream going to be vulnerable to a quick counter? And as long as Jedi sits home, or at least gets back to protect Ream, or Adams is there numerous times in the other game where Adams would get back and take on the guy going down the wing. So Jedi could get his butt back, because Jedi was playing so far up the pitch. So as long as we're prepared, and boy, we looked prepared against Paraguay, they couldn't get anything going. Like we didn't allow any counters because the way we were spaced was so brilliant that when they gained possession, we pounced on them. I'm going to imagine that Australia is going to watch that film and they're going to say, all right, maybe instead of trying the immediate counter, we settle, we pass it around a little bit and see if we can't, we don't rush into a trap, which is what Paraguay did over and over and over again, rush into a trap. Maybe they won't do that. I would imagine looking at the film, they'll probably say, well, if you have to, kick it back to the fucking goalkeeper and we'll start from there. And we'll get everybody up and we'll just kick the ball to midfield because we're not going to be messing around trying to counter out of our own end, because how many times does that go and bite Paraguay in the butt? Because we're just so immaculately spaced in that game. God, is that reproducible? You would think it would be, but then you also got to know Australia are watching that footage. And they're not going to try to do that. They're going to say, well, kick it backwards. We'll start from the goalkeeper. We're not going to try to dribble out of our own end. That's too risky.
It's one thing, too, I saw. I don't remember who shared on Twitter or X, but I did see us breaking the press against Paraguay. Like just a sequence. It was beautiful.
Oh,
It was nothing. It was like 2009, 2010 Barcelona-esque, like the way we just broke down the press.
Yeah.
And to your point, I don't think Australia is going to be recklessly pressing. I think that they're going to be very strategic on that. And they're not going to, use all their energy and get tired legs, and they're not going to put themselves in a dangerous spot. But one thing, too, that scares me is I do think the attackers are going to be a little bit more challenging for us, talking about Australia's attackers, just because of their pace. And I do think that this is going to be a big challenge for Tim Ream. And
That's why I was worried about Ream.
Yeah. And I do agree that I think Jedi's going to have to maybe help out a little bit, or Richards. I think Jedi's going to have to as well, because if you remember, Irankunda and Torre, they kind of switch up. They don't just play on one side. They kind of they intertwine and they go back and forth up top. They're going to play wide too. So like they're going to need some help. I do not feel good if Tim Ream's having to go out wide to defend Irankunda. I do not feel good about that. So I think Jedi's going to have to pull back.
If Ream gets dragged out wide, we're in real trouble. So I think it looked like during the Paraguay game, Adams knew priority one was covering behind Jedi in case change of possession happened and a counter happened. So I would imagine we're going to continue that. And then I think Tillman and McKennie were really smart about, oh, you're going forward, then I'm going to take a step back. Like that needs to continue. Somebody needs to be somewhere near Adams, not right next to him, but somewhere near where they can support the back line in case there is a counter. Now, is there going to be a counter, or did Australia just watch the footage like we're going to watch theirs and go, yeah, I don't think countering quickly out of our own end is a great idea. Like if we gain possession, let's not try to do that. Let's kick it backwards. Hopefully that's what happens. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's great. Maybe Australia doesn't really want to just be boxed into their own end. Rather have Beach kick it past midfield and let the Australian team go chase it in our end. So we'll see what happens. I'm really curious because now, after watching both teams, they're going to watch each other now, or they're going to. I'm sure they already have, and watch the footage. I do think Australia is going to come out thinking we can't do what Paraguay did. And they weren't going to anyhow, but now they know what not to do, right? And what to avoid. And they do see the way we're spaced, how we plan to trap once we lose possession. So I think they're going to be smarter than Paraguay. Paraguay just looked shell-shocked. Like, holy crap, what is this? What's happening here? And I do not think Australia is just going to give us the wings at our leisure. I do not think that's going to happen either. I think they're going to challenge. You looked at the Paraguayans, the left back was never really sure, and the right back, should I go up and cover Guest, or who do I cover? Like they did, because Tillman would go out there sometimes, and sometimes Freeman would be a little high, but he wasn't sure. Do I go up? And no, they never did. They tucked in. And I mean, the center backs, the four back for Paraguay were so narrow, it's almost startling. Actually, it's shocking. I don't know what they were thinking, but it gave us free reign. Australia's not going to give us free reign at all.
So I think you and I are both in agreement. I think if I was to ask you who could not have a bad game, not necessarily a good game, who can have a bad game, I would assume you would agree it'd probably be Tim Ream, just because I think this could be something that could expose him, this type of play. Who do you think has? And by the way, I hope Chris Pulisic does play. Apparently, he wasn't at training today, and there are reports saying he'll play regardless. He's just precautionary, just resting, make sure he doesn't re-aggravate the injury. Right. But who do you think needs to have a big game against Australia in order for us to win? And I'll tell you who I think it should be first, and I'm curious if you agree. I think that Balogun has to have a big game, and I understand people are saying, well, he just had 2 goals. That's an easy answer. But let me tell you why I think he should. Goal scorers there's a lot of great goal scorers in the world, right? But a lot of it is about confidence and momentum. You can have the best goal scorer in the world, and if they're not finding the back of the net, it can be like a road barrier or a blockage, like a barrier where they just cannot get that off of their back and they can't score, and it gets in their head, like the yips, right? With Balogun playing as good as he is right now, this might be some of the best ball I've ever seen him play for the national team. And the brace, it's the first brace we ever had in for the national team since 1930, okay, or more, or multiple goals. I want to see him lead into that and really take this World Cup grab it by the balls, if you would say, and just run with it. Run with it.
What I would say. Yeah.
Yes, run with it though, right? I want him to continue the momentum and really be in the contention for the Golden Boot, meaning that he's leading us in scoring and putting pressure on the defense. I want to see him, and I think he needs to have a good game and continue what he built in the Paraguay game.
I think the challenge for the Australians, the really big challenge, is that now they know Balogun's a threat, which should leave more space for Pulisic, but they know he's a threat too. So they've got to make a choice at some point. Who are we man marking? Who are we putting 2 guys on? And then wait, because if Balogun is in the middle, Pulisic's kind of out left and Jedi's out left too. Like all those guys got to be a priority, and you simply cannot decide, well, the priority is Pulisic or the priority is Balogun. You can't, not everybody can be a priority. So someone's getting extra space out there. Okay. Someone is. And then, you've got Tillman. I mean, he was fantastic with his little blippy passes, his little tiki-taka things. That's going to be really useful against a low block. So, again, the great news is we've got really great players. We got more really good players than Turkey does, honestly, attacking players. So they're not going to be able to just say, well, we're going to shut down Yildiz. They can't do that. We got more than one of those. So it's going to be really, I'm really curious to see what Australia decides to prioritize here. Because they're going to have to decide who they want to shut down. Because the hottest guy on the team right now is Balogun. But you can't just close your eyes to Pulisic, and certainly Tillman looked really good. So did McKennie. Like if they're all playing at that level, I think Australia's got issues. They got serious issues.
No, I agree. And so let me ask you this. Who do you expect any lineup changes whatsoever for this game? Just maybe rest someone? Like if Pulisic is healthy, do you expect to be the exact same starting 11 as it was against Paraguay?
Yeah, I do. I don't see why you would change that. I really don't. Although, once you think Poach, he always surprises you with something, right? But if Pulisic is injured, then the question is who comes in, right? I don't know who that's going to be. Aronson,
Reina?
Zendejas? Reina would be my choice personally. I know a lot of people are still like, oh, well, he scored a goal in garbage time. Doesn't really matter. Garbage time, my butt. You think there's no such thing as garbage time in a World Cup, by the way, because there is something called goal difference. Wake up to it, people out there on Twitter who are morons that don't know that. Like that extra goal against them is going to really, really hurt Paraguay's chances going forward if they finish third of getting into that final 8. So anybody thinking that was garbage time has a garbage thinking method. Okay. So let's just say that now.
What about respect and honor? You think a guy's just not going to, you think just because they're losing, he's going to give up on his country and team in the biggest moment of his life at a World Cup? That's just not happening. I'm talking about Paraguay. They didn't give up. So Gio Reyna scoring that was maybe the best goal of the whole game. That or the Ballo curler on the left side. It's close, but yeah, that's BS. That's just the Reyna haters saying that.
And this is someone who follows me on YouTube, on Twitter. I was like, oh God. I can either absolutely slam this guy or just leave it alone for now and take it on during the show. Although he's not the only one that said it. And all the Reina haters have to be really just...
Hey, everyone, quick word from our sponsor, FanDuel. If you're into soccer like I am, you already know how exciting La Liga, the Premier League, and MLS matches can get. With FanDuel, you can make it even more fun by placing bets on your favorite teams and matches across all 3 leagues. Whether it's a Premier League showdown, a La Liga thriller, or an MLS game with your local club, FanDuel makes it easy and exciting to bet on what you watch. Just remember, you have to be 21 years or older to play. Please bet responsibly and only if you're of legal age and in a state where it's allowed. Download the FanDuel app or head over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and get in on the action. Thanks for supporting the channel through FanDuel.
They're going to be, I think, loathing themselves soon or coming up with new excuses either way. Because if Pulisic is injured, you're going to see a whole lot more Reina out there.
Yeah, they're always moving the goalpost, man. No matter what happens, there's always something else, or he didn't do something right, or they weren't trying. Okay, so let's close it out with this. Mm-hmm. What's your prediction for the game on Friday?
I'm going to go with Dos Cero. I'll go 2-0 USA. I think we score early and then we score late. That would be my guess. But it's going to be nervous Nelly time for the whole middle part of the game. We're like, we're up 1-0. Oh boy. It's going to be that way, I think. And I do think Australia's definitely, they're going to bring it physically. They're going to be very physical with Pulisic. They're going to try to bully us. And as you said, try to use that speed down the wing, down Ream's side of the field. They're going to, because you can't do that against Freeman. They're going to beat Freeman in a race. I mean, he's fast as hell. But yes, our weak spot is right to Ream's left. So Jedi's going to have to be aware. I know that Adams is already aware. So yeah, that's our weakness, man, on the counter. Oh, so set pieces. I mean,
set pieces too. Yeah.
Hopefully we don't give up a whole lot of those, because that's nervous Nelly time for us too. It's not something we've been really good at defending in the last couple of years. So hopefully that's not an issue. Yeah, those are my only concerns really, though.
So 2-0 win, and you think it's going to be a battle regardless of, even though we have the 2-0 lead or win. I think I'd go 2-1. I think it's going to be where we score first, they score next, and then we probably have to find the win at some point in the second half. Yeah, I just think this Australia, and you remember I said earlier about goal scorers having momentum and confidence is like the most important thing. They've all got ability for the most part. It's more about just like in between the ears, like how they're feeling and stuff. Australia has just as much confidence right now as we do, because they did beat a better team than Paraguay. They did. I mean, Turkey is regarded higher than Paraguay, and they beat them 2-0. Like you said, after everyone talked crap about them and said they had no chance, and they just went out and proved themselves right. And so they're going to be riding a high.
Yes, they are.
So when that game finished, I said Friday is going to be a movie, and it's going to be a tough battle, and hopefully we come out on the other side of that bar fight, but it's not going to be easy.
No, and I do think, though, the only thing that could shake Australia a little is if we score early. We score in the first 15 minutes, they might go, oh. And, not only do they not have possession, but they are getting rocked early. And we need to worry about the same thing. I mean, the worst 2 minutes of the game versus Paraguay was the first 2 minutes of the game, where we fell asleep at the beginning. We just weren't ready yet or something. I don't know what the hell happened there. So that can't happen. We cannot give them a chance at the beginning of the game either. But this is going to be the battle for the first goal. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you just don't want to be chasing the game, because if Australia score first, they're just going to sit back in the tightest low block you have ever seen in your life. I mean, they'll probably pull the strikers and put in a bunch of more defenders. I mean, they brought a shit ton of defenders for the World Cup. They got so many defenders. Their defenders play midfield.
Yeah.
I don't know if you looked at their roster.
Yeah.
But a lot of the guys playing midfield are defenders. They're like right backs and left backs for their clubs, and it's crazy. It really is. So they're ready to play defense, and they'll take a 1-0 win. Heck, they'll take 1-1. Australia will take 1-1 here. They really will. So if they score, they're packing it in, I'm guessing.
They'll take any points they can get, yeah, for sure. Well, listen, we'll see what happens. Friday will be here before you know it. It's going to be an earlier game. It's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern game instead of the late night game. Yep. So we'll find out soon. This is going to be, I think, the toughest game we play in the group stage now. I think this is it. I think it'll be the toughest one over Turkey now. So we'll see what happens. But guys, listen, make sure you check out Derek on his channel at The Straight Red Card. Him and Brett are live every Monday and Thursday, especially during peak World Cup. In any type of USMNT, when things are hot, they go to live twice a week, 8:15, right?
8:15.
8 p.m.
Mondays and Thursdays, except when there's a live game. We call the games live. Yep.
So make sure you guys go check them out. Derek, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Good luck to the U.S. We'll see what happens.
Cheers.
Until next time, guys. I'll see you all soon.